we've talked about it so much on the show. First half Pels has been an absolute banger, but is there any other reason why you lean towards Pels in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute banger, but I think from a matchup perspective, I like what New Orleans kind of bring to the table. Additionally, just looking at their numbers, on a little bit more of like a broken down spot from the All-Star break. So it's a little bit more of like what the rotations we should expect. It's the teams have, the market's kind of adjusted. Just looking even at that, in the first half, the New Orleans Pelicans have the second best net rating in the NBA next to the Boston Celtics at plus 12.8. Phoenix is not bad. They're 12th, but they are all the way down at plus 2.3. So, that's a pretty wide margin between it's crazy actually. The difference between Boston and the Pelicans is the same margin as the margin between the Pelicans and the Suns, which is just insane for a first half, right? But what I like about New Orleans is and what I've kind of noticed like with watching them anyway is I feel like they play so much better in the first half because it doesn't get into the like, all right, like whose turn is it? How are we going to get the ball up the court? Like, what are we doing here? And that's one of the concerns I always have with them in the longer part of the game, like or in like the fourth quarter in crunch time. But in the first half, I think that they get to just play a little bit more loosely, a little bit more freely. They're just not worried about like, all right, like whose turn is it with the basketball? So I like that because they kind of get to actually get into their offense, which is really, really well run, but they don't, as good as Zion is, as good as CJ McCollum is, they don't really have a guy that's like, I'm going to bring up the ball every time consistently and run and facilitate the offense. So I think they can hit you with so many different looks. I really like what they can bring to the table. And Phoenix just, they just have not really been as good. They have these letdown games. And a lot of times they do come out maybe hotter in the second half. It's like, all right, like let's get it going here. Let's see if we can kind of narrow this gap. So I do like New Orleans to start off hot. And I think the margin, even though the results have been similar, New Orleans is 12-7 on the money line in the first half since the All-Star game, and Phoenix is 10-9. So the results are like kind of close. But when we look at the numbers, Phoenix has been far less good, or New Orleans has been far superior.
Worse?
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. New Orleans has been far superior to Phoenix on a net rating level over the first half since the All-Star break.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like this play. I think the Pels are all built on wings. They have like a million of them. And so they've got a lot of versatility in order to do this. Now, they will probably get in trouble on the interior. I might play a Nurk over here.
Yeah.
Because Willie Green has been doing this weird thing where he's just like, no, we must play small. No matter who it is, we must go small. That's the way to play.
It's been really bizarre.
Like, look, I like Larry Nance. Willie, like, I like Larry Nance. Really good player. See, everyone in their appropriate spot. You have Jonas Valanciunas. Play the big fella, man.
Yeah.
But first half, I like this. They've got the wings in order to defend them. I like the under here. It fits a lot of the trends I focused in on. If you're curious, those trends are still holding pretty well. Surprisingly, all these free throw rate trends, those have continued to carry over since the changeover, and the Suns are still a team that have gone under more than over, even as the numbers have started to tick down. And this number is way closer, obviously. Then we're not in the 210s, we're not 217s, it's 224.5. My concern is that the Suns sometimes will go out and shoot threes, and sometimes they don't. The Pels are really good at preventing so they give up a high volume of threes.
Yeah.
But the second best percentage. Now, a lot of the quants will tell you that that's random, that you really can't count on that shooting percentage is not very much tied to the defense. It's about, do you allow those shots or not? I think there's something to be said for the contest that you're getting from Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and those guys. I think there's 100%. Something to that. But also I think here is that the Suns are actually defensively, the Suns have big gaps, including they obviously had huge problems with OKC. But the Pels are built a little bit differently from an inside-out perspective. And so I do think that they'll be able to at least hang in this game defensively. I actually think this is a big game for both teams in terms of playoff standings. So I'm expecting there to be a high-effort, lower pace. I think we'll see a lot more half-court stuff, and I think we'll see an under here at 224.5.